Hello guys, welcome to today's session and let us get started. So today's agenda is to deal with remaining types of files. In the previous sessions, we we have gone through enough examples to handle text files and then binary files and uh, binary files. So these are the things which by default we are going to deal in Python. But apart from these files, we do have various other type of files. Let's say, for example, CSV file, that is comma separated value files. Then we do have JSON files. JSON, ideally, when you are writing a RESTful endpoint, you are actually going to get the response in the JSON format. Also, sometimes, let's say you do have the request and response in the files. Let's say you are placing a request with post and then getting the response and storing it in a file. And the requirement is process all the JSON files. Uh, for example, a real-time scenario I'm giving, let's say 100 orders has been stuck and we need to reprocess it. And we have written a Python program. What it is going to do is it will take the order number and then uh, push those orders for the reprocessing. And as soon as the reprocessing happens, it will send us the response on the fly if you're actually making a API call. And the requirement is to store those files for the future reference at a later point of time. And those files will be having JSON content, and we call it as actual JSON files. So whenever we are having JSON files, how do we manage the JSON file content? How do we process or parse the JSON file content? We do have a model in JSON model using which we can actually manage all these operations. Then we do have YAML files. Most of guys who are actually coming from DevOps background or AI/ML or anything, right? Know a little bit exposure to the programming. You can also understand what is YAML file content. The YAML files, maybe if you are actually familiar with Docker and Kubernetes, right? We are dealing with YAML files over there, and some of the configurations also there in the YAML formatting too. Okay. In the CSV file, before we get started, how the CSV file looks like. Let's say, for example, I have a file like this name, then country name, then my current location. Basically, I'm just giving. I can specify Subbu, then India, and then current location is Bangalore. Similarly, I can specify Deva, and then currently, let's say, for example, it is in US, and current location is Denver. So something like this we can actually put together. And this data, if you are actually storing the file extension, the extension of this file will be .csv, and we can also obtain the CSV files in the Excel itself directly. So we can also, as like other file handling, we can perform a number of operations on CSV files like reading, writing, right? And then how do we open it with write mode, read mode, append mode, and all these operations we are going to learn. And apart from that, we'll also know come to know how to deal with a dictionary writer right now, dictionary writer and dictionary reader. For example, we are having a content in the CSV file. We want to actually read with dictionary reader and write with dictionary writer, and we'll see how it is working. For better correlation, I can tell you in the file management section, to read, there are three methods: read, read line, read lines. Read is going to return as a string. Read line is going to return only one line from a file from the current cursor position. And read lines will give us a list which contains the entire file content by default. Okay. So then similarly, we do have write line, and then by write lines, writing one line or writing multiple lines, those things also we have gone through. There, if you are able to recollect, we are actually using, let's say, multiple lines are there. It is nothing but a list of lines, okay, list of strings basically, okay. So and then similarly here, we'll see what is the default reader and writer, CSV default and reader and writer works, and then we can actually go ahead understand how to write as a dictionary. Let's say we are having a data in the dictionary and we want to dump that data into a CSV file. How do we do it? And if we want to read the CSV content as a dictionary item, like each row as a dictionary item. Let's say, for example, in this case, if I want to actually read as a dictionary, then how I can actually do it? Like it will be like something similar to this. Subbu. Subbu is nothing but the name. The name will be name is the key. Subbu is the value, right? And similarly, we can see it here like CN and then colon, that is value is IN, that is IN stands for India. Then we do have location, so it will be location is the key, then bank. If I want to see the comma separated value file, like how it looks like, here you can see this is how the comma separated values are actually looking. Let's say, for example, the headers or columns are there, then the values, right? And it is more or less similar to the dictionaries, I can say. For example, if I want to convert this particular row to a dictionary, then how I can actually convert it? This is how I can actually convert it. This is the column name and then followed by the value, key value where. So name Subbu, then country name is IN, then location is Bangalore, right? Similarly, if I want to convert the Devas record, the same way we can actually use it. So now, what we are actually going to learn today, today we are actually going to learn how to perform operations on CSV files, like this kind of files where we have the content which are separated by comma, and then we have a header or column name on the top, that is the topmost row. Row number one, that is the header or column, or field, some people call it as actual fields or columns or headers. Okay, so now if you are having the data in this format, then how do we deal with this particular content type? There are a number of ways to process the CSV file content. Uh, by default, we do have a model known as like CSV module of Python. Using CSV model, we can actually read and write the file content, CSV file content, as well as pandas, and pandas, using pandas also we can also learn. But pandas is like now, if at the very beginning stage of your Python career, like focus on learning the Python module first. Once you are actually confident and ready to explore the data science world or data analytics, then in that particular time you can actually explore pandas. I'll just give you a very small example, like how the pandas data frame looks like, and we can actually have one or two examples on pandas too, like on the CSV, like how do we process the CSV file content. Okay, so now today we are going to learn about various methods of CSV model, starting from reader, dictionary reader, then write row, like write row and write rows. You can correlate, like writing a single line, writing multiple lines to a text file. The same way it works, like write row and write rows over here. Then we do have like read operations. If you are able to recollect, we do have three kinds of read in text files. That is read, it will read the entire file content as a string. Read line, it is going to read uh, only one line at a time. Read lines, it is going to read the entire file content and return as a list. Similarly, we do have like different kind of read over here and different kind of write over here. And then we do have a method write header, using which we can actually write the header, like CSV file header, the first line. This line is actually known as a header. So now, before we proceed with the program, I have a sample file, and that sample file is actually what here you can see, like name, country, and skill. And I do have like the Subhasis, IN Python, that is country name, Deva, then France, then DevOps, then Deepak US and Java skill set. Okay, so now I'm just going to write import, then CSV. CSV model will be there by default. Just in case it is not there, you're having any problem, then you can definitely, and working on PyCharm, you can go to like Python packages, just click on Python packages, it will load this page, and here you can actually search for CSV. So if you're searching for CSV, you can actually just click on that. You can actually see option like install. Let's say I want to process a YAML file. Now in YAML file, here you can see these are the models for YAML file like PyML to process, or like there will be like high level information. ML is a data serialization format, and what are the information. If you scroll down, you can actually find out like the high level information about this model, and if this is what you are actually looking for, then you can directly go ahead and install it. This is how we can actually install the models on the fly, or packages on the fly. Basically, those are the packages, not models. Okay, so now here import CSV. So we are done with like importing the CSV file. Now our requirement is how do I read the sample.csv file content, right? So now guys, the same thing what we are actually going to do like is we are going to use with keyword. Okay, so with weapon, I can say like in a sample.csv, we are going to create sample.csv file, and then we need to give like which mode. So the mode is actually I can specify R. Mode is R. Now I'm just giving us like as FD. That's it. Now it looks like the same. I mean exactly same, right? So now here we go. I can actually specify like the FD. Here you can see this is like just 3 lines. Support, import the particular package, that is CSV package, and then we can go ahead here what we can see here is we can go ahead to open the file with the with keyword with append, then the file name with read mode as FD, then data csv.reader. Then here we can say like the FD is nothing but a file descriptor. Okay, so in this file descriptor we have the data over here, and then if I want to see what kind of data, or like how many lines of data is present in this particular file descriptor, I can definitely go ahead execute this for line in let's say data, line in data, and then here I can say print line. That is very easy, and just added 1 line code to handle the CSV file. That's it. We are having CSV file. We are explicitly not splitting it or doing anything. We have just added this one line like one import statement followed by data equal to csv.reader. That means instead of reading, iterating the FD directly, let's say for example, if I'm going to do one thing like for line in FD, if I'm going to give like this for line in FD, now print line or line here, okay, or I can say here record instead of like using the same variable, I can actually create here, right? So let us see here. We do have like two for loops. One is line in data. Data is nothing but it is reading the data from this file descriptor, and we are using csv.reader reader method. Here we are actually directly reading the data from the FD. Now if I'm running this program and if you want to differentiate it like now what is the output, right? So here you can see the, let's say I'm just printing asterisk mark 50 times. If I'm running this program, now here you can see what is there, file indentation error. Okay, so what is the indentation error? We'll see, because we are actually giving here, right, indentation error because of this. Okay, so now if here. So now here you can see once we have actually iterated, no data is actually there in this particular descriptor to read. So now if I want to do the same thing again here, you can actually see it. Here we go, and then with file descriptor as fd, then run it through, and then do a like read, and then I can give end equals to, because it will be having a blank line anyway, so I can actually run this program. Here you can see the difference. Now when I'm actually reading through the simple file open and then followed by the read from the file descriptor, the data will be in this format. But when we are actually using csv.reader module, the CSV reader module is powerful than the general text file reader. Okay, so now here we go. When I'm using like this one, I want the fields. I need to explicitly split it and do all the operations. So instead of reinventing the wheel, what we can actually do is we can use like the CSV reader module directly, and here we can actually see the data. Now let me do one thing. Let's say from this file, your requirement is, okay, this is CSV file. I want the first field only, that is the name. So what I can do here is I can directly go ahead, say, hey, give me only name. So now in this case, you can actually see only name is actually available name is versus if your requirement is, okay, that's fine, give me the country names. So like, sorry, give the skills, that is 0, 1, 2 field, right? So here it is name, country and skill. Now here you can see it is 2, right? So now if I want to know like what is the country name, you can actually give 1. So that is giving like in a country name, okay, country, IN, France and US. So this is how you can actually do a basic read operation on a particular CSV file using the csv.reader model, reader method. CSV is the package and reader is the method. Okay, so now if I want to read the CSV content, here it is returning each line as a list. This is my header line, this is in list, line 1, line 2 and line 3, this is in the list. What if my requirement is to read in dictionary format? Okay, so that is known as csv.dictionary reader, DICT reader. Okay, so now here I'm just giving CSV dictionary reader example. Now here we go, this is the CSV file and the same method we are actually going to use, sorry, the same with keyword we are actually going to use to open the file. Only thing is instead of csv.reader, which was actually reading the data and displaying it, I mean while iterating it, it was returning a list. Here what we can actually do is we can directly do one thing. Okay, before we proceed further, let us try to understand like now what is there in the data. Now if I do like print of data and here we go, if I'm running this program, here you can see in the first line itself, it is saying this is CSV reader object. So this type of data, like what it is returning, it is actually returning CSV reader object. But when we are actually iterating, we are iterating the CSV reader data, like whatever you are actually getting here, right? So don't do this kind of operation when only when you are actually looking for the data. This is how you can actually go ahead and look for the data. Now you can actually say if I'm giving data of 0, like what is going to happen? Now let us see what is going to happen. Now if I'm giving data of 0, it is saying we cannot use the index. Okay, we cannot use this index, but we can definitely iterate the CSV reader object. Okay, so that is what is the takeaway from this program. So now we are going to learn about like now how to read as a dictionary using DictReader. Okay, so now here you can see DICT, we need to specify, that's it. And if you want to know, instead of reader, we are actually giving dictionary reader. Now if I'm focusing on this dictionary reader, you can actually see it here. It accepts no arguments and returns new featureless instance, right? That is no instance, something like no meaningful information here. If you're using it for the first time, there is no meaningful information. What you can do here is like documentation is copied from the link is given, so you can actually copy, just click on this, you can actually get the information on python.org site. There is a link, ducks.python.org. Many things, I think almost everything is actually documented, well documented over there. Okay, so now when we are actually using dictionary reader, just only change we are actually making here is, as compared to the previous program, instead of reader we are giving like dictionary reader, that's it. So if we do this, in this case it is going to return the content, in dictionary format. Okay, like this. Now if your requirement is, that's fine, I want like only country. In the previous program we are using 0, 1, 2 because it was a list, but now it is a dictionary. So what we need to do is we need to give the keys. Let's say for example I'm just giving here like line of, I'm just giving skill. Okay, so now if I'm giving this, here you can see this is giving like Python, DevOps and Java. if I give like a skill followed by line of, then here I'm just giving name, right? Name. Then here you can see the data is coming as Python, Subbu assist, DevOps, Java, and Deepak, right? So this is very easy as compared to the previous programs in the file handling in the text files. There are only two line change: import the model, use a reader object, that's it, and then iterate it. Remaining things are same. So these are the takeaways from this particular file. Real-time use cases. You have the data from a interfacing system and which is in the comma separated value, and you want to do some data normalization or data manipulation or data messaging. In those case, what you can do is you can use the libraries. In this case, we are using CSV. You can use pandas or any other libraries which can help you with the CSV file processing. That's all about the CSV file reading. Now, the next example I'm just going to give you, which is really helpful to understand how to do write operations on CSV file. It's a CSV write operation. Write operation. Okay, Python file. In the CSV write operation, we are definitely going to learn about how do we write. Let's say, for example, from the scratch, we want to generate a file which should be in this format. Okay, like we should be having name, country, skill, and all these things. Okay, so now how do we do it? So first, what we need to do is we need to define what are our fields or like columns or headers. Anything is fine. Now let us say the first line should be like import CSV, because without importing the CSV we cannot do any operations on CSV file. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is we are going to write the content to a CSV file, or the existing file is there, it is going to overwrite. If the file is not at all there, then it is going to create it. So how do we check it? Os.path.exist you can actually use, or various ways I have actually told you, like now how to check for file existence and take a call whether you are going to do a append operation or a write operation, or you are going to delete the file. All these operations you can actually do. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to create the CSV file from the scratch. So now, before I create, I can definitely tell like what are my columns. Let's say what are my columns. I'm just giving like the column values or calls. I can use like calls, the short time calls. In the calls, as you understood from the previous programs, that CSV file by default returns a list, the reader. Similarly, the header should be actually there in the list. Header should be there in the list. Now in this case, I'm just giving the headers. Let's say for example, I'm just creating name. I'm just giving like name as in header. Here I'm just giving, or we can actually give like country name, and then I can say let's say here I can say population. Okay, or POPL, I'm just given like POPLs. Okay, population. So now POPL, I'm just given like country name and POPL. So now this is my header. So I'll be having a CSV file. In that CSV file, I'll be having two columns or two headers. That is, sorry, in the single header, we are having two columns or two fields. That is CNAME and population. So the next thing is how do we write the data? Now I can say my data is here I can specify, let's say, the list. Okay. Again, list we can also write in multiple lines too. Okay. So now I'm just giving the data here. Like now we'll be having country name. Let's say 2, 3 country names will be having, or 4 country names I'm going to have it. Okay. So that's all about like what we are going to store here. Now I'm just giving here country name is India, just putting some values here. Okay, these many people are actually from India, and let's say in my company I'm just assuming these many people are there from India, and then I'm just giving US. and then in US I'm just putting some values here. This is not the exact count of population, but yeah, I'm just giving here UK. I've just given like some number here, and then here I'm just giving let's say Brazil, Brazil, and then here I can specify for 5 something. Okay, so this is the data which we have. Now the objective is we want to generate a CSV file. We want to write a CSV file using this data and header. How do we do that? Now let us do this. Now with open is not going to change. It's just the same because we are going to open the file in the respective mode. I can specify here, let's say I'm just giving demo.csv is not there. And then I'm just going to, guys, we can also specify the mode, like so far we are using like W or R or like this, right? So we can also specify using like mode equal to W, mode equals to R. So those are the options which are actually available here. We can do that. Now as I'm just giving like my file descriptor or CSV file descriptor. If you want to actually meaningful file descriptor, you can actually use like the CSV file descriptor. So that's fine. So we have this file opened like demo.csv file which is not present, and we are opening it in the write mode, that is nothing but W. Now the requirement is to how to write. To read, we are using csv.reader. To write, we must use csv.writer. So to do that csv.writer, we need an object. Let's say, for example, my CSV writer, or I can give like CSVW. CSVW is nothing but my CSV writer. I can specify here CSV dot. Here you can see reader, writer, dictionary writer, right? All these operations are actually available. I'm just going to use writer, CSV writer. In the CSV writer, I can specify what is like what is my file descriptor, where is my data. The data is actually there in CSV FD. So now I can specify here CSV FD. Okay, try to understand. In the reader also, if you go back here, you can see we are actually using FD. Open the file, use FD, use the same FD in the reader. Similarly, open the file in the write mode, use a file descriptor in the csv.writer, refer the same CSV file descriptor. Okay, the file descriptor whatever is there, the same file descriptor has to be here as well. So now that's all about like how we are actually opening the writer. Now if I want to write one row, now in this case try to correlate. In the CSV, it was actually returning the list, like a multiple list, like one list per line. Now in this case, we are having the header, which is nothing but the columns. Then data, we are having multiple country details over here. There are 4 rows. Now how we can actually write it? Here we can execute like CSV writer, like in this case CSVW, in my case this is the writer object. I can use writer object dot write row. It is going to write only one row. Columns is having only one row details. Now I can see here like in the columns. Now multiple rows is there in the data. Now what we need to do, csv.write rows. If you give like write rows, it is like number of rows. Let's say n number of rows you can actually write. It can be one row or multiple rows too. Now I'm just giving like data. So the objective is to make you familiar with write row and write rows. So now this is very simple. This is list, basic concepts, which is clear. Like data is a list of lists. List of lists. Why? Because CSV will be returning in this format. So we are actually storing each line as a list. Then the first one is just a list. The line number 8, we are opening the file. Line number 9, we are actually using a CSV writer object. Line number 10, we are writing one row to a particular CSV file. Then line number 11, we are writing multiple rows to the same file. That's all about like what are the operation happening here. As soon as we are actually done with this program, if we want to validate, like when this file has been created programmatically, I can actually give with open. What is my file? File is demo.csv, which is not yet created. Open it in read mode, assign it to a file descriptor, and then use a csv reader file descriptor. Csv reader equals to csv.reader of this file descriptor. Then I can say for line in csv reader, whatever the lines are there in the csv reader object, print those lines. Print line. That's it. So this is going to read the file content. See here, this is a full-fledged CSV program. We are generating the file for the first time. Then we are going to write the content. Then we are actually reading the content. As soon as I'm running this program, you can see the data in the output over here. Like it is saying, did it execute? So one moment, Control Shift F10. Here you can see you got the data, but there are here you can see blank list, like nothing is there. Now let us go ahead and see like what happened to this demo file. Guys, remember, whenever you are writing the data to the CSV file using the writerow or writerows, additional line will be actually placed over here. The additional line will be placed here. Now the question is, how do I control it? To control this, I'm not going to disturb this program. What I'm going to do is, I'm just going to copy paste this and write CSV write. I'm just going to give another example. CSV write example 2 Python file. Here we go, and I'm just giving like instead of demo, I'm just giving demo1.csv, and here also I'm just going to give demo1.csv. Okay, demo1.csv. Now, while opening the file, we can also tell what is my new line. By default, if you are not specifying, it will take additional line. Now, while writing to the CSV file, see here, this is with open. Open function also support a variable like known as new line. So now parameter new line. I'm just saying, don't specify any new line. If you say here new line is double colon, it will be taking colon or double colon or any other character. It is actually going to take that too. Like you can correlate and understand, in the print we are having end separators, right? Similarly here in with open we can actually specify there is no new line, just print as is. Now here while printing it also we can say don't print an extra line, because my file content is also having the data, and as well as each line is actually terminating with a slash n. So now if I'm running this program, here you can see the data in this format. But if I'm going to give, okay, let me do one thing, let me rerun it. So if I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually printing CNAME, then population, then India, US, UK, and Brazil. Now if I go for demo1.csv file, let us see in the demo1.csv file how the data looks like. So CSV file has been written. So this is how the write operations on CSV file you can actually perform. Okay, so now this is like write row and write rows, and the takeaway here is whenever you don't need the extra line like in between, right? If you can understand demo.csv, it has an extra line after each row. If you don't want that, the new line should be blank. You can programmatically do it using CSV write of example, like whatever we have actually used here, new line equals to null, then it is going to do the same thing. Okay, so that this is all about like the CSV file real time. Let's say we are going to learn like in the future classes we are going to learn how to connect to multiple servers, remote servers, execute a program. Let's say for example your requirement is to generate a CSV file and which should contain the server name, the file system, then the current utilization percentage, a server name, file name, how many ports are currently listening, how many ports, like the count of ports which are in the listening state. Let's say you want the details, server name, the file system utilization, okay, and as well as the largest file in that particular file system, and you want a comma separated value. In that case, CSV module is going to help you a lot. So without CSV module, we cannot write the content. Again, 4 or 5 lines of code or 10 lines of code, you can connect to the remote server, get the data. But after getting the data, how do you write the data to a CSV file? This is the program which is going to help you to understand like now how to write the content to a CSV file. So this is in short. Okay, so that's all about like CSV write and CSV write row and CSV write rows. Now what is next? The next is we are going to, like in the other program, we were able to read it as a dictionary here, right? In this program, if you look at here, Control Shift F10 to run the program in Python, here you can see it was actually giving, if I don't give this content, I just give line. Here you can see it is giving us the data in the dictionary format, right? So now, what if I want to write the content in the dictionary format too? Let's say CSV write example. I'm just taking this data, Control A, Control C. I'm just going to do one thing. I'm just going to write new Python file. Let's say CSV dictionary writer. Okay, so CSV dictionary writer. In the CSV dictionary writer, our data should be like now in the right rows. It is a list, but in case of in case of dictionary, the data should be dictionary writer, the data should be in the format of dictionary. How do I tell that? Let's say I'm having cname population, or I can actually use this. Let me make it simplified one. I'm just giving name, country name, cname, and I'm just giving like the subject. Here I'm just having, this is like now my header is done, like columns are actually done. Now here I'll be having a list. List of what? List of dictionaries. First element Subbu's record, next element Deba's record, and then the last element I'm just having Deepak's record. So now here I can specify, let's say Subbu. Here I can specify here like name. Name is Subbu. Name. Then I'm just having Subbu, and then we can also give a space that is suggested. So name Subbu. Here I can specify C name. C name is India, and then I'm just giving here subject. Subject is, I'm just giving something like a cell, for example, like this. Subject is cell. Now let me copy paste it instead of typing all these things again and again. I'm just going to copy paste and then change the values. Now here we go, and then here we go. That's it. That's the 3 values. Now instead of India, I'm just giving US. Instead of Subbu, I'm just giving, let's say, Deva. Instead of the last one, I'm just giving Amir. Okay, so now here you can see it is UK. Then let's say Deva is skill is DevOps. Amar's skill is actually Python. This is Amar's skill, so Python. So now here you go. So we have the data. This data is nothing but, let us use a meaningful name. Okay, that's fine. Like data is the data information is actually stored here like this. Now, I'm just here, I'm just writing demo3.csv, and the same thing is what I'm just giving like a new line. Okay, don't give new line and see, then we can actually give a new line at a later point of time. So the demo3.csv, open in the write mode, and as soon as you open in the write mode, you need a file descriptor as file descriptor. That's the syntax, basic syntax. Then the next thing what we need to do is, as we are actually going to write it to a dictionary, the format is little different. Whenever we are actually using writer and dictionary writer, writer takes one argument here, like that is must to have, that is the file descriptor. In the dictionary writer, if I'm giving like dictionary writer, in the dictionary writer, we need to pass the uh, first the file descriptor followed by what is the field. Here you can see dictionary writer, it is going to give the file descriptor followed by the field names, that is the collection or a list which is containing the field names. Okay, so what is our field names? That is columns. So I can actually say like now these are my columns. Now here I can specify field names, ELD is field names. So field name is equal to columns. This is the syntax. Okay. So now we can specify this is my CSV writer file descriptor, and here we are using dictionary writer. It takes two parameters or two arguments. One is the file descriptor followed by what are the columns available. I'm just giving like now this is my columns available. So this writer object is actually available. Now, what is next? Once the writer object is actually available, two things are actually left here. One is how we can write the header. The header is nothing but the column. And then, as well as how to write the data. Now, to write the header, it is write header. Okay, so it is like write. If I give csvw dot, here you can see write row, write header, write rows. These are the three things which we can actually use. Write row and write rows, we are familiar. Now write header, I am just going to use like write header. What is my header? Header is nothing but columns. Like write the columns to it. Write the columns. Now csv.writerows is nothing but I'm going to dump all the data which is in the dictionary formatted value, sorry, which are actually in form of dictionary, that list of dictionaries. We want to write this data to the file. It is not going to change. Only two things has been changed here. Dictionary writer. Whenever you are using dictionary writer, you need the file descriptor followed by the header or columns, and then we have to write the header explicitly, then we can actually write the rows. So once we are actually writing the rows, then we are going to validate whether the data is actually present or not. I can say like demo3.csv and then see it, like what is there. Now control shift F10 to run the program in Python. Now demo3, okay, something went wrong here. csv.DictReader, it takes one positional argument, but we have given two. Here I have given two. It is the right header. Okay. So csv.writeheader. Okay, I see. So what we can actually do here, already we are giving like it is a columns here, so no need to explicitly specify anything. Just call it, no need to specify anything, no need to pass anything, here. Okay. So now if I run this program, here you can see the data is present. Now let us see demo 3. Where is our demo 3? Demo3.csv is here. Now the same story again. New lines by default came. How do we get rid of new lines? Now I'm not going to disturb this program. I'm just copying this program, and I'll just move here new Python file, and here I'm just giving let's say CSV dictionary writer example 2. Okay, so now here I'm just giving demo 4, and here I'm just giving demo 4, and here you can actually use, this is nothing to do with like no dictionary writer or anything. This is to open. In open method, we can actually specify what is our new line. If you don't want any extra new line over there, you can actually definitely like now put new line equal to null, because CSV writer itself, it will take care of the new line, so extra new line is not required. If I'm running this program, okay, Now here you can see demo4.csv. You can see the data without any extra space here. Now if I'm giving, sorry, going to demo4 demo4.csv, if I'm opening this file, it has the content in this format like cname, then subject and all these things. Okay, so now this file is already now demo4. If I want to open with, I can actually do that, like now go to the path and then open the csv file, and then it will by default open with the excel set. You can actually open with any other file also, that is also not a problem. So with this, we are actually done with the dictionary writer and dictionary reader too. So these are the very basic operations of CSV files. Let's say my requirement is I want to see the data of demo4 file, okay, but not using the CSV reader. I want to use pandas. Now, let's say I'm just writing a program, new Python file. I'm just saying like the CSV operation using pandas. Again, pandas is a different chapter altogether, like different topic altogether. Pandas will take long time to learn as the beginning stage, right? As a beginner, it will take a lot of time to learn. So now import pandas, and ideally, I have seen like people used to use like import pandas as PD. You just go ahead and Google it anywhere, you can see pandas as PD. Okay, so now you can actually give pandas as Subbu also, your name also. That is not a problem at all. Let's say I'm just giving like pandas as PD, or I'm not giving anything here. Okay, import pandas simply. I'm just importing pandas. Now here what I'm going to give, let's say CSV data equals to, I'm just going to read the data from demo4 file. CSV data file, okay, sorry, is equal to, like I can say pandas dot read CSVs. Now here guys, it is very easy. In pandas library, you read CSV, you want to read from SDF, you want to read from Excel, you want to read from JSON, you want to read from HTML, like what not. There are actually read pickle. Pickle is nothing but binary data, read SQL, read state, read table. There are so many read methods, because pandas is actually powerful. Okay, the utility is, sorry, the package panda is actually pretty much powerful. And in this case, to deal with CSV file, I'm just giving like read CSV. Read CSV, it is very easy. And in this method, let's say for example, if you focus on read CSV, you can actually see like what kind of parameter we want to actually pass to the pandas model. Here it is nothing but we can actually specify like what is the file basically. Okay, and separators and other things are actually we can see it at a later point of time. But here you can see by default we can actually give a file, and we can give separators, delimiters, headers, names, index, lot of things are actually there. That's fine. Now for now we are going to give like read the data from demo4.csv file, which was created recently. Okay, that's it. Now my CSV data is ready. Now what I need to do is I can go ahead here and just print it. I'm just giving like print CSV data. If I'm giving print CSV data, here you can see the data in a well organized format. But if your CSV file contains huge amount of data, millions of records, and let's say for example thousands of columns in the console, it cannot accommodate. So it will be giving like very small content out of that millions of record. If it is thousands of columns, you can see dot dot dot, then followed by maybe last 2 3 columns, or first 2 3 columns followed by that, like whatever your screen can accommodate, those things will be actually available here. So while dealing with pandas, please be careful. This is how, if your requirement is like interactively you are doing something and your data frame is actually huge, then in that case it will be like difficult. Now how the developers, I mean ideally the panda like data science guys, like they deal with the pandas. I'm just going to give you one more example, then we can actually end up for today, and let us see like I'm just checking where is my session file, session, 1 minute, session.py. Okay, now here we go. Now ideally what they do, this is like now what I've seen, pandas as pd, use pd.read, then instead of data they use df stands for data frame, then instead of data frame give df. Any program you can see, that's it. They will be using, most of the data scientists they will be actually using imports pandas as pd dot do the operation. What operation? I'm reading the data from a csv file. Okay, where we are storing, I'm storing it in my data frame. So now what is next? I want to see like whether the data is actually available here or not. Then give like print data frame. That's it. Work is done. You can see the same output here. And also you can go to Python console. Now this is my Python console. I'm just giving import pandas as pd. Okay, now import pandas as pd. Now here I'm just giving like df equals to pd dot read csv. I can say here pd dot read csv comfort demo 4 dot csv. Okay, hit enter. What happened here? Demo 4 dot csv, it is not able to find out. Okay, that's fine. We can explicitly specify c colon double slash python training slash, what we can give like one slash also, but like sometimes slash n plus t and all will be having special meanings, and this that is written and just using double slash here. So now demo.csv, now hit here, like here there is no error, df is done, just give df, that's it. You can see the data frame like this. So many times if you are actually using any other online tools or anything like dealing with Python, you can actually see this. That means they are actually trying everything in the console. Whenever we are actually giving df, let's say for example, instead of, you can tell me df it is printing here, then don't give anything, give df. There'll be like no output, because explicitly we need to print it, otherwise it is not going to print anything. See here, there is no data. So guys, remember to be familiar with like console operations and as well as file operations. So with this, we are done with the CSV files, and you need to explore further on pandas. Pandas is a separate topic altogether. We'll take some time to get familiar with pandas module and all. So in the upcoming session, it will be like now crystal clear examples, very small examples and different kind of files, whatever is remaining. Then we'll go ahead with the exception handling topic. We'll learn like now how to handle exceptions. Let's say a while ago we got like file not found exception. Let's say demo 44, demo 477.csv. If I'm running this is nothing but exception, file not found error. How do we handle this kind of errors programmatically, right? Instead of like system is generating and terminating the error, how do we manage the flow through or manage the control or program execution using the exception handling? Proper exception handling is definitely needed. Even if you're writing 10 lines of code, 20 lines of code, exception handling is the key, which is going to help you in the real time to manage the exceptions better, runtime exceptions better. So that's all about today's session. We are good to go.